Yep, just to let you know that today's lesson will be recorded. So if you don't want to be seen in public, then please do turn your cameras off. We've let in people a little bit early. It's not quite 1 o'clock. So just waiting for other people to turn up, hopefully. So today's lesson will be in side lying. If you want to go and get the appropriate props for your head, folded towel or a thin cushion, um, we'll be kind of rolling the head a little bit on the floor on the side. So we don't want, if you need a headrest, something too thick. For some people, you may not need a headrest at all. And if you can't lie on the side, it is possible to do this lesson also in sitting. So we've got various options you can play with. So it's just turned 1 o'clock. Just wait for a couple of people to come in before we start the lesson proper. So today is the third awareness through movement lesson that the Feldenkrais Resources for Musicians are putting together to celebrate Moshe Feldenkrais's birthday. So I think all in all, there are 8 lessons. Is that correct, Anita? It's 8, I think. Yeah, I think so. So brilliant. Okay, it's 1 past 1. So I'm going to get started proper. I'm going to start by introducing myself. My name is Yeu-Meng. I'm a pianist. And today's lesson is called Sliding Hands and Arms. And in this lesson, we will be exploring the connection of our hands and arms to the larger structures of ourselves, our ribs, our spine, and our pelvis. For those people who just turned up, this lesson is being recorded. So if you don't want to be seen, um, in the recording, then you please turn off your cameras. But for those of you who are quite happy for me to have a look at you, it would be good if you could angle your camera so that I can see you. Just to reiterate, today's lesson will be in side lying, so you might want to get appropriate props to rest your head on. I'd like to start the lesson in standing, if that's okay. And as you're standing, just notice what your sense of balance is, whatever that means to you. Balance can mean lots of things. It could be a physical sensation, it could be an emotional sensation. So as you stand there, just notice what you are sensing in terms of your balance. And because today's lesson will be focusing on the use of our arms, if you'd like to lift one arm up, kind of not too high up, maybe shoulder height, lift one arm up a couple of times. Notice what happens when you lift your arm. Do you feel any connections to any other parts of you apart from your arm lifting? You can lift to the side, you can lift to the front of you. Notice the quality of lifting. Does your arm feel light? Does it feel heavy? Does the movement feel easy? And perhaps lift one at a time rather than two at the same time, so you can compare the two sides. So after you've lifted one a couple of times, try the other one and see if there was a difference, see if there is a difference between the way you lift your two arms, and indeed there might have been a reason why you lifted the first arm first. And then just leave that. And before we lie down, just notice how you're breathing. And that's not an invitation to change anything in your breathing. It's just about noticing how these three things can be connected: your sense of balance, the way we use our arms, and our breathing. And at the end of the lesson, we will tune back into those three three movements that we've just done. So please come and lie on your back to start off with. And as you're lying on your back, can you give your weight to the floor? As in, can you allow the floor to completely support you? Or do you feel there's some parts of you perhaps that are still holding you up? We've all come from some activity. Presumably, we haven't come from lying down, we've come from doing something. And some of us probably have had quite an active morning. So now that you've been given permission to lie on the floor and have a rest, have you also given yourself permission to let everything go that doesn't need to work to keep you in this position? And I'd like to draw your attention as you're lying down to the three big bony structures of ourselves, which are connected by the spine. And the first of these large bony structures is your pelvis. So as you're lying there, notice what is your sense of the width of your pelvis? And which parts of your pelvis are you lying on? And does the left side and the right side feel the same? Perhaps you feel more weight, more contact on one side of your pelvis than the other. Perhaps one side of your pelvis feels wider than the other side. And from your pelvis, could I please invite you to bring your attention up to your shoulder girdle? Now, your shoulder girdle comprises of your shoulder blades at the back and the collarbones in the front. And as you're lying on your back, notice what is the sensation of weight in both your shoulder blades? And how much of your shoulder blades can you feel contacting the floor? And again, do the two sides feel different? Do they feel similar? And from your shoulder blades, please bring your attention to your head. And whereabouts in the back of your head are you resting on? And perhaps this question isn't very clear. So gently roll your head one side, come back to the middle, and then roll to the other side. And notice if you can trace the trajectory of the rolling of your head. Does your head roll in a straight line, or does it somehow dip down towards one shoulder as you roll your head to one side? And maybe it dips down the same amount, but maybe not as much, or maybe it doesn't dip down at all. Just notice what that's like for you. And then lastly, before we roll onto our sides, lift one arm up, just one arm, just lift up towards the ceiling and then bring it back down again. Again, notice what comes along for the ride. Is it just your arm that lifts up? Do you feel any engagement anywhere else? And how easy is it for you to lift your arm up? Does your arm feel light? Does it feel a little bit sticky? Does it float up? Does it feel heavy? And after you've done one arm 2 or 3 times, try that with the other arm. Lovely. And then please roll onto your right side. I'm going to suggest we lie on our right side, but if you have a strong preference to roll on your left side, then please reverse my instructions. So bring your legs to rest on top of each other, roughly at 90 degrees. So the knees make roughly a 90-degree angle with your hips, and from your ankles to your knees, it's another 90 degrees. It's almost as though you're sitting on a chair and you've just tipped your chair down to the floor and you're in that position. And please bring your arms straight out in front of you at chest level. So they're making some sort of triangle, and your left palm is resting on top of the right palm. Keeping your hand soft, keeping your left hand soft, begin to slide your left hand forwards in front of you towards the floor and slide it back towards your resting right hand and a little bit upwards towards your right wrist. So you're sliding your hand backwards and forwards. And keep this movement very soft and gentle, and do it as though you could do this all day long. So hardly any effort. And although your pelvis in your head is relatively still, there could be a slight ripple of movement. Not because you're actively moving those parts, but they might just respond a little bit to the moving, to the sliding of your hand. And the instruction is for you to slide your hand, but your hand is also connected to the rest of your arm and to your shoulder girdle. So as you are sliding your hand, notice what you can sense in your shoulder blade. Perhaps you can sense the shoulder blade sliding across your ribs, away from your spine, when you're sliding your hand forwards, and then as you slide your hand backwards, you may feel the shoulder blade sliding along your spine again, but this time towards your spine. And breathe easily as you do this. We don't have to coordinate our breath in any particular way. Just make sure you're not holding your breath and keeping your face soft and your jaw soft, your eyes soft. Please leave that and have a little rest. And when you have a rest, if you can rest on your side, that would be great. But rest your arms in a comfortable position if this position is not very comfortable for you. And bring your arms back into that position again, which is arms long in front of you at chest level. And I'd like you to resume the sliding of your hands forwards and backwards, but this time allow your head to roll generously in one direction and then the other direction. So there is an invitation for your head to be a much more active participant in the movement of the sliding of your hand now. So much so that you could almost think of your rolling of the head as the initiator of the movement. So you could begin to roll your head towards the floor as generously as you like, as long as it doesn't hurt and it feels easy and pleasurable. And as you roll your head towards the floor, your hand will also slide away from you. And as you roll your head towards the ceiling, your hand will slide towards you, towards your resting elbow. So the movement now will probably be a little larger than the movement at the beginning because your whole chest is now involved in the movement of sliding your hand. Leave that and please roll onto your back. As you're resting on your back, notice what the contact of yourself to the floor is now. Has anything changed in the way you sense your two sides? Please roll back to the same side, to the right side. Have your arms in the same position. So now we're going to keep our hands in that position and we're going to slide your left knee forwards and backwards. And because your hands are not sliding, it makes a little bit of a constraint in that your shoulder girdle is relatively quiet now as you slide your knee forwards and backwards. And as your knee slide forwards and backwards, your pelvis is also rolling forwards and backwards. And notice if one direction is easier than the other. Is it easier to roll forwards? Is it easier to roll backwards? And leave that and rest for a few seconds in that position. We're going to play with some movements of the ankle now. So feel free, you don't have to put your hand in the position that you were in a moment ago. Feel free to put your hands in whatever position is comfortable for you. And keeping your knees together and keeping the front of your feet together, begin to lift the heel, begin to lift the left heel off the right heel ever so slightly, not the whole foot. The feet, the lower legs stay on top of each other, and the toes don't separate from each other. So we're keeping the big toes together, and we're just lifting the heel ever so slightly. And notice what that does to the two bones of your lower leg, the tibular and the fibula. They begin to rotate the bones. And through the rotation of the bones of your lower leg, could you feel a reciprocal movement in your hip joints? And again, keep this movement nice and small and gentle, without straining. Please leave that. And now let's do the opposite movement, which is to keep the heels together and just lift the toes of the left leg away from the right leg. And you may indeed find one movement easier than the other. Again, don't go to the limit of your movement, just what's easy. Now combine both movements. So you do once lifting the toes and then once lifting the heels. And notice how this movement speaks into your hip joint. It's a very subtle movement, but it's a way of tuning attention to more proximal parts of you as you're moving parts which are a long way from your middle. And then leave that. And before we roll onto our back and have a rest, just simply slide your knee forwards and backwards now. Oh, sorry. Bring your hands back to the original position, which is arms in front of you. And simply slide your knee backwards and forwards and see if there's been a change in the movement, whether you're collecting a few more ribs, a few more bits of your spine than you did at the beginning of the lesson. And then please roll onto your back. And every time we roll onto our back and have a rest, it's not because that we're tired. It's because we've done something very small, but something with awareness. And it's always interesting to tune in to see how these little movements affect the way we sense ourselves, especially if we're doing movement to one side. So it may be interesting for you to sense your two different sides, your two sides, and if they feel different in terms of width, in terms of length, in terms of the way you contact the floor. And then please roll back to your right side and have your arms in the position. And we're going to slide your hand forwards and backwards again, but this time we're going to invite all the other structures to join in generously. So your pelvis is also going to roll forwards as you slide your hand forwards, and you can allow your head to roll generously towards the ground as well as you do this. So all three big bony structures, your head, your shoulder girdle, and your pelvis is now an active part in the movement of the sliding of your hand. So this movement now is probably a lot larger than it was right at the beginning when we were just simply sliding our hand. And you may like to play with the initiation of the movement. So how does the movement change if you begin the movement of the sliding of your hand by thinking about the rolling of your head? And I see some people are also beginning to use the movement of the ankles to help you. By all means, you can keep your ankles quiet, or you can use the movement of the ankles as we did in the previous variation to help you do this movement, to inform you of the various ways we can do this movement. And does the movement feel different if we initiate the movement from our pelvis? Or indeed, maybe if we initiate it from our feet by doing the ankle movement of moving the heel away and then moving the toes away. So these different ways of moving to do the same action inform our brain of the various options we can have when we do this movement. And it's very different to doing an exercise where you repeat the movement, doing the same thing all the time. Leave that and please roll onto your back. And notice how you sense your two sides now. And you may even feel a difference in the way you're breathing. Gently roll your head one side and the other side and see if there's a difference on your two sides. And then lift your left arm up towards the ceiling and see how that feels now, and compare it with the lifting of your right arm. Great. And now please roll onto your other side, your left side. And have your arms long in front of you and begin by sliding your right hand away from you and towards you, slowly and gently, breathing easily. And then allow your head to also generously roll towards the floor to support the movement. So it will roll towards the floor as you slide your hand forwards, and it will roll towards the ceiling as you slide your hand back towards you, towards your elbow. Lovely. And then just rest for a moment in that position. Rest your hands wherever you like. Rest your hands wherever you like. And now let's explore the movement of the sliding of your knees. So begin to slide your right knee forwards and backwards. And that invites your pelvis to roll. And once your pelvis begins to roll, it also takes the lower spine with you. And once the lower spine begins to move, it can begin to invite other ribs to join along too. And leave the sliding of the knees for a moment. And let's play with the movement of the ankles. And because you know what to do already, we can, I think, combine both movements. First of all, we can lift the one heel off the other heel, and then we can lift the top of the foot from the other top of the foot. Lovely. And just leave that. And just simply now slide your knees forwards and backwards and see if that's any different to how it was before. And begin to invite the rest of you to join in this sliding movement now. So as you slide your knees forward, also begin to slide your hands forwards and roll your head towards the ground. So we're going to make this movement a larger movement now. It's going to be a movement of your whole self, where as your knee slides, your hand also slides and your head rolls towards the floor and towards the ceiling. Making sure you're breathing easily. And leave that for a moment. And let's do something a little bit different. And you might want to visualize this first. We were rolling all of ourselves in one direction and then in the other direction. What is it like to roll your top half in one direction and your bottom half in another direction? So you might want to visualize this first, but if this movement is readily accessible to you, begin to slide your hands and roll your heads forwards as you slide your knee backwards and vice versa. And I see some of you are also adding the movement of your ankles. You can if you like. You don't have to. You can keep your feet just resting on top of each other. And once you've done this oppositional movement, maybe 2 or 3 times, go back to the first movement where everything goes in the same direction and see if anything has changed in the ability to roll forwards and backwards by using the movement of sliding of your. And then you can use this sliding movement backwards to slide you onto your back somehow. So you can slide onto your back and have a rest. And as you're resting there, take a moment to tune in to how you're giving yourself to gravity now, how your two sides are supported by the floor. How do you sense the width of your pelvis, shoulder girdle? Please gently roll your head to one side and then the other side. See if anything has changed. And then you may wish to lift up one arm and lift the other arm up and see if that also has changed. Lovely. In your own time, please roll to one side and come up to sitting and then standing. And I think I probably have another couple of minutes more before we get cut off. Anita's shaking her head. 1 more minute. Oh, goodness. So I've got 1 more minute. So I'll say what I want to say. And then perhaps if we get cut off, you can carry on exploring yourself in standing. And the 3 questions I asked was, how do you feel? The sense of balance. And you may want to lift one arm up and lift the other arm up and see if that feels any different. And hopefully your arms feel lighter, and light arms hopefully means freer breathing possibly might change your sense of balance as well. So, and then have a walk in and enjoy yourselves. And we're all still here. We haven't left yet, haven't been cut off. So I don't know if we've got time to touch base on anything. Probably not. Probably we're going to get cut off any moment now. But there we go. So I hope you've enjoyed the lesson today, and please join us for the rest of the week. I can't remember who's on tomorrow. Is it you, Lars? Yes, Lars will be teaching tomorrow's lesson. So great. Still not cut off. So if anyone wants to say anything, they can unmute. And then if we get cut off, we get cut off.
Thank you. That was lovely.
Excellent.